and welcome back to the Jason and Peely Project, where we talk everything fit, living a fitter, richer life. And today, oh my goodness, I am so excited to introduce to you Lisa Hylton. Hello, Lisa.
Yes. Hey, guys. So happy to be on your show, Peely.
Welcome to the show.
Yes.
Everyone, Lisa Hylton is a real estate investor, syndicator, and a CPA with approximately 15 years of experience in the financial services industry. Lisa started out with a big four accounting firm auditing billion-dollar funds across private equity, venture capital, mutual and hedge funds in the islands, Boston, and then Los Angeles. Whoa. Lisa currently works as a controller on a private equity real estate fund. Isn't it amazing when somebody else reads your bio, you're like, wait a minute, I did all that stuff? Lisa currently works as a controller on a private equity real estate funds while investing passively and actively in primarily commercial real estate market investments, such as large multifamily apartment buildings. So let's dive into all of the goodness that is Lisa. So yeah. Lisa, why don't you talk about that? Why don't you talk about why? Why do you invest in real estate?
Yeah, definitely. So I invest in real estate because I want to generate passive income to ultimately, have time freedom to do things that really matter to me. So that's one of the main reasons why I invest in real estate is because I want to have other streams of income. So that way I have the flexibility to do the things that I love to do in this life and to be able to help people in a positive and impactful way.
See, I love that answer, not only because it's basically the correct answer, but number two, you have all this basis, this education, this background in the financial arena.
Yeah.
Tell us, how does that affect your standing as a real estate investor, syndicator?
Yeah, it's funny because when I got started investing in real estate, this was like when I just got out of college and I was starting in audit in the Cayman Islands. I bought my first townhouse. At that time, I didn't know anything about like the bigger pockets and podcasts and all those other things. Like I just sort of found a property that I loved and I liked. And, I didn't really think about the money and like the numbers and how it really worked. I was just sort of caught up in like, oh, it's a beautiful property. I really like it. And I bought it. And then after I bought it, I was like, oh yeah, I want to rent it out. And then, I rented it out. The first year I broke even. And then every year after that, I lost money. And I held the property for about 5 to 6 years. So during that time, I was in Cayman. And then I moved from Cayman. I started living in Boston. And I was in Boston for 4 years. Long distance property manager because I couldn't afford to hire a property manager because that was not something that I thought about doing at the time that I bought the property because I didn't have any intentions of really leaving Cayman at that very point in time. And then fast forward, moving to LA, still holding on to this property. And then I remember getting a bill in the mail, not in the email for like, I don't know, $1,000 for an AC breaking down. And I was like, wow, like I'm not making any money on this thing. And I'm like getting huge bills in the email. Like this has got to go. So, coming back to your question, sometimes like starting out, you just don't really think about like all of the ways in which you need to really be thinking about the investment. But that experience really made me think about real estate differently. And, after I sold that property, I was like, okay, I'm out, no more real estate. And I feel like life has a sense of humor because a year later, I got a job working at an investment manager taking care of funds that invest in real estate. And then I was like, hold on. Like 6 months in, I was like, wow, people can really make money investing in real estate. They can also lose money investing in real estate, which I already knew. But, just the idea of being able to make money. And then that's when the whole education began. Bigger pockets and getting out there, networking, meeting people, and then just learning and being a lot more cautious about like understanding how to run the numbers and actually, looking at that stuff. much differently.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I mean, so much especially beginner real estate investors, they see HGTV, they're like, oh, it's easy, it's so beautiful. So it sounds like you saw the beautiful property, you're like, I want to get into that, I want to get this house, and then why not rent it without really knowing the numbers. And I was hoping it was going to be one of those happy accidents where you're like, I made a ton of money. No, it was one of those happy educational pieces where
right.
I kind of lost a lot of money and I'm not going to do that again. So from that point on, you start really digging into your financial education, into real estate education. Where are we going to now? Tell me about how you got into, first off, for our beginning investors out there, tell me, what is real estate syndication and why you got into it?
Yes. So a real estate syndication is where a group of investors will pool their money together to buy a property that is much larger than what any individual person would have been able to purchase on their own. And how I got into syndication is by accident. I was maybe a year or two ago, I was going to, a friend of mine has been encouraging me for like 5 or 6 years to go to this personal development program called Landmark. And I met her from in Boston, and she kept encouraging me to go. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't go. And then now, like 5 or 6 years later, I was here in Boston, and she was encouraging me again, and I went. It was at that program I met Monique Hom. She was a participant at the program. Yes, the real estate investor goddesses.
I love her. I love her so much. Monique, if you're listening to this, I love you. Okay, go back to your story. You met Monique.
Yes, I met Monique. She was in the first program, like what most people do, the forum. And then it came with like a course kind of thing afterwards, a follow-up course. And it just so happened that she was in the same initial program and the course that I was in. And then on top of that, like the course was asking people to volunteer to be leaders, to host a call every week for 3 months. And I was one of those people that raised their hands to host. And it so happened that Monique chose my call time. So that's how Monique ended up in my group. So I didn't really know she was a real estate investor until like 6 months or so in, when, whenever I like 5 months in, when the program was pretty much done. And another one of the girls in the group said, oh, we should exchange business cards. And then when I got Monique's business card, I saw she was a real estate investor. And I said, oh, I didn't know you were a real estate investor. Like, I'm into investing in real estate. I'd love to learn more about like your business and how it works. And she was like, okay, yeah, call me when you're ready, etc. And it was like 3 months later, I was cleaning out my bag on a staycation here in Los Angeles. And I said, oh, Monique's card. Oh yeah, I was supposed to call this lady. So I finally called her, and I was like, hey, can you tell me about what you do? And then that's when she told me, and I was like, wow, I had no idea that there were other people out here. I knew on an institutional level that this was possible, but I never knew that like on an individual level, like this was like possible. So yeah.
I love how Monique was just kind of put into your path and sort of guided you, and talk about what a great guide. Guided you into real estate syndication. That is fantastic. Let's jump into that a little bit, since we're talking a little bit about Monique. Let's talk about mentorship and teaching, because I know you have a podcast. I'm going to do a little plug for you right now. Lisa is the host of the Level Up REI podcast, which has a variety of series, such as exploring all the ways people can invest in real estate on Tuesdays, and then exploring investing passively in syndications on Thursdays, which has been already added. So folks, go check that podcast out. So back to you, Lisa.
Yes.
Tell me about mentorship, how that has affected you, and how you are in turn with your podcast and otherwise mentoring others.
Yeah, definitely. For me, being in the right environment, or being in the environments around people who are continuing to grow and push themselves forward, and who are also interested in helping other people around them who want to grow, like providing opportunities for them to grow and get exposure and experience has been absolutely instrumental in my life and as well as in my business and in my career. If I hadn't met her, I don't think that I would have even known about this way of investing. It may have eventually come to be, but much later on in the process, perhaps. So for me, I feel like it's so super instrumental. I also think that you have to follow your intuition. So when you're meeting people, you need to follow your own North Star, your own intuition about whether these are the kinds of people that you want to be around, that connect with you, and only you alone can sort of make that decision. And I think the more you trust in your own ability to decide and choose what's beneficial for your life, that then enables you to be more empowered when you get out there and you network, regardless of whether you're networking or not. Because many times, like when I met Monique, I wasn't looking for any, like I wasn't at some real estate event networking to meet people. It was completely on something completely else. Like there were other things that I was dealing with in my life at that point in time. And then, so I would say you really need to follow your intuition, and, take the time to get to know people. But I think that mentors are super important. And, going towards my podcast, one of the reasons why I felt the need to create a podcast is because of the way podcasts have been so instrumental in my life personally. Like, as I talked about, when I took this job, 6 months in, I realized, wow, like people can make money investing in real estate. And then that's when I started exploring. And it just so happened that one day I went for lunch with two of my other coworkers, and we just started talking a little bit, and it found out that we were listening to the same podcasts, and we were also interested in investing in real estate. It was wild. And from there, they shared, podcasts that they listened to. So for me, podcasts have been a great way. For me, they're like social media, podcasting, Instagram, Facebook, that kind of stuff, because I believe you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And these social media aspects provide you with the ability to spend time with people who are doing amazing things, or doing things that you want to do that encourages you and supports your growth, even though you've never even met them. So I think that's so beautiful.
That is everything in a nutshell when it comes to mentorship, when it comes to really creating your network and really creating the connection. Because you definitely, Lisa, connect with people on like a higher level, and it shows in your work, in your podcast, and I just cannot wait to see where this all takes you. So I'm reading here to date, Lisa has invested in 2 syndications as a limited partner totaling in 850 units in the Atlanta MSA, and 1 sub-syndication raising $5,000, but not $500,000, $500,000 with her team of fellow real estate investor goddesses.
Yeah.
You guys are. Amazing. I am so happy.
And I made my third passive investment in the middle of COVID.
That
in
is
March,
amazing.
April, in North Carolina. So I added more onto that guy as well.
Talk about that a little bit. This is
sure.
where, for anybody that's listening to this next year, 2021, 2030, I don't know.
Yes.
Right now it's 2020 and we are in it.
Yes.
COVID is happening. We are connecting on whole different levels. Talk about getting into a real estate syndication in the middle of an almost recession.
So a couple things. For me, when I thought about continuing to invest, I believe in my asset class, right? So I like multifamily. I also like industrial as well, but certain types of industrial. Multifamily, I don't like generally everything. So when looking at a deal, like I really like, for me, the sweet spot is a class B property. because for me, I figured that when you're going into a recession, people who are, in the class A classes, a lot of them might decide that they want to readjust their budgets and save a little bit more. And some of those people might decide to downgrade into, like, say, a class B type property. And then class C, once again, it's a mixture. Sometimes I'll invest in class C, sometimes not. COVID, of course, has hit class C the hardest, primarily because those are the jobs that usually require a lot of the people that live in class C properties usually tend to be people that have jobs that need that face-to-face interaction and can't necessarily be done remotely. So then that has, of course, hit the rental situation. It's to be seen what's going to happen given whatever transpires in the market. I think the plus side of this is that the U.S. like the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are primarily the lenders for multifamily. And, connected, obviously those are government agencies. So as the government knows that, they're continuing to subsidize and help people, which they need to continue to do that as people try to get jobs and the economy tries to get back on its feet. I do believe that it then enables multifamily to still be, by and large, a safe investment, because you do have a lot of, I guess, institutions like the government and the Fannie and Freddie that want to make sure that these people continue to have housing, because it's a need, it's a basic need. So that's what I feel regarding that. But for me, the property was a class B plus, class, high class B type property. And even though they were noting that, even if like the break even would be 50%, if they lost 50% of all the tenants that they had, they would still be able to break even. So with that, I was looking at all the different characteristics, also looking at the market itself. So the income in that particular market was quite very high, very strong, very good schools. Before COVID, going into COVID, a lot of population growth, a lot of healthy job growth. Obviously with COVID, there's unemployment pretty much across the United States. So, but yeah, I think for me, I invest with a long-term view. So constantly, and I'm conservative. So I'm still taking risks, but I'm also taking them in a conservative manner. And the team, this team has done several different projects in that particular area. They know that area very well. A combination of all of those made me feel comfortable continuing to move forward. So, yeah.
I love how you talk about this asset class as being something safer, and how you work with a team.
Yes.
And talking about the numbers, but nowhere in there that I hear that, I'm doing it because it's great and I get to do the countertops and it's so pretty and I get to do all these other things. That's the greatest thing about large multifamily or apartment investing, is that yes, there is some sort of creativity. Those things can be tinkered with,
right?
But everything is in the numbers. That's why it's so amazing. It's in the numbers. It's right there in front of you. It either works or it doesn't.
Yes.
And please, if you're listening to this, do your numbers correctly. Pick the ones that work.
Yeah, agreed.
Make sure, not the ones that you think are beautiful or that look great. The ones that definitely work. There's one thing I did want to jump into with you. You are from the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
You moved to Boston. How is it that you built a life for yourself, not knowing, because I'm from Hawaii. It's a state, it's part of the United States, but it's a country unto itself.
Right.
How did you take the transition and how did you build this amazing life for yourself? Let's dive a little bit into the mindset of Lisa.
Yeah, it's funny when you just said that, the first thing that came to mind was mindset. I think it all starts with how you look at life. Because I believe that the things that you say to yourself are the things that, come into being. I am not perfect at all, so, but it's that imperfection of, knowing that when I say negative things to myself, or I believe things that are not incongruent with where I want to be, and when I see those things manifest in my life, I know, okay, yeah, I believe this, and hence it came through, right? So for me, it's mindset, and I didn't always have that. So I think I started out with finding what I loved to do, and that's what Boston brought for me. Boston helped me. The first 2 years, all I did was work. And then the second 2 years, I actually started saying, okay, well, what do I love to do? And then I found things that I love to do in Boston. So by the time I got to LA, I was on my third city. And I was like, okay, I know the drill. I need to look for the things that I like to do. And I liked yoga, and I liked hiking, and I liked dancing, at that time salsa. And I would go and I would find those places. And it was through that I then ended up finding tango. Through dancing salsa, I found Argentine tango, and had I still do have an amazing LA Argentine tango community. So lots of really good communities. So for me, I find that when looking for a new city, like if you're planning on going to a new city to live or anything of that nature, it starts with you to sort of say, okay, what do I love to do? What makes me happy? And then you go look for those things. And then through finding those things, you start to build your community, and you build your network, and you start attracting like-minded people towards you, and then connected to that mindset. Lots of personal development. I'm always continuing to read books on personal development, on ways I can continue to improve as a person. I recently had on my podcast Tyler Chesser. I don't know if you know him. Yes, he's awesome. And I remember him saying to me that, as he wants to give to other people, he himself has to grow and develop and continue to grow to even give more and more to others. He has to continue to grow. And, I think that's so key. Like, I have to continue to grow as a person, as an individual, as a business owner, as a woman, as a partner, to then continue to be able to give to other people. So, yeah.
I love that. It's the whole concept of filling your cup first.
Yes.
And letting the overflow, the extreme overflow, hopefully flow into other people's cups. For the only way you can do that is if your cup runneth over.
Right. I believe Oprah likes to talk about that, and I love an Oprah all day.
Yes. Here's a car for you. Here's a car for you.
Yes.
It's all about the giving. In Hawaii, we have a saying, aloha ku, aloha mai. Give love, get love.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. There's this. It's a human concept.
Yeah.
That it spans generations. It spans time periods. It spans cultures. So on that note, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on our show. You are amazing. I'm so excited to see what the future brings you. Before I let you go, how can my listeners find you?
Yeah. So if they want to learn more about me, they can check out my website, which is www.lisahylton.com. And that's Hylton like the hotel, only thing with a Y. And then you can also check out my podcast, which is the Level Up REI podcast. As we stated before, I interview real estate investors from all walks of life, sharing their stories about how they got started. Lots of really good content on my website to learn more about passively investing in apartment syndications. So definitely go on there, check it out, and enjoy.
I will leave all the links to all of our websites in the show notes below. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please rate, review, and subscribe. and then jump over to Lisa's podcast and rate and review and subscribe there too.
Yay.
You are all amazing. Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm so grateful.
Yes.
And thank you to all of my listeners. I am grateful to you for your time. I honor your time. Thank you so very much. You have an amazing day, and I will talk to you later. Bye now. Join us for your second cup of coffee every Monday through Friday at noon.
Live every day, bringing us our best content we've done so far. Super excited, super engaging, bunch of great guests. We're here to answer your questions, and we so appreciate you listening. Make sure to check us out.
Can't wait to see you.